from New York to the West Coast last week.
You both went from Europe to the West Coast.
That's true. Europe to New York to the West Coast. That's
yeah.
right.
And so I think, obviously huge news a couple days now since we've been away, but Luka signing a 3-year, $165 million extension. On the first day he signed it, it became obvious he set a schedule around it. The Lakers planned out a press conference, and then Mark Walter, the Lakers' incoming owner, if reporting is correct that it was him who did it, I'm not 100% sure. I just know what I read a little bit on this, but they had a post signing journey over to see the Backstreet Boys in Vegas at the Sphere. So the key on that whole thing, beyond those details, is that this was planned out. There were multiple players that went. Suites were acquired. They were all wearing matching outfits. I don't know. Is it a thing that everybody wears white when they go to the Backstreet Boys? Is that a thing?
I don't know. I got caught up in post Backstreet Boys Uber traffic in Vegas, and I've got a little PTSD from that. But it certainly is a thing that this was all orchestrated. The Jordan Brand tour, was orchestrated to where he would be in LA for this. The other thing that is very, very clear is that Laura Beth Sager, who's Luka's long-term business manager, was Dirk Nowitzki's long-time publicist before that. She is essentially an extension of the Lakers organization at this point, which is the polar opposite of Luka's last year in Dallas.
That is interesting. I want to talk about that in a second, but I think the point is that Luka decided a while ago he was going to sign this extension, and then set his summer schedule up, and everything was lined up. The Lakers knew it was coming, and everything was done. And that isn't just important for logistics; it's important for where Luka is with the Lakers. He is, bonded to them. And that was not something we were 100% sure was going to be the case when the trade happened, because he was shell-shocked. We talked about this throughout the last 6 months, that the Lakers lost the ability to give him the Supermax, which is repeatedly locked down players in this spot, that he had no financial incentive to sign this summer.
No NBA contract financial incentive. Being the face of the Lakers, there's some financial advantages that come along with that.
And he could make a little bit. I mean, he could make more money, but then if he signed elsewhere as a free agent. But it's not just so fans know, it's not the cavernous difference that's between the Supermax and the regular extension. It's a small enough difference that you at least left open the possibility he could explore free agency.
Yeah, and so we also had talked about where it made the most sense for him to take a 3-year extension instead of 4, because he could re-enter free agency for the bigger number. But
with
MacMahon,
the player option,
right? So for fans that know, he signed a 2-year extension with a 30-player option. He opts out after the second year. He can then sign a 5-year deal for, I believe, 400
and change.
Yeah, 400 and change. And I believe the final year of the deal would be north of $90 million by current cap projections by Bobby Marks, which
I mean, that's 8 years from now. That's 8 years from now. But I would just say that I think the key is Luka is now locked in for the Lakers for the next 3 seasons. It was 1 season. And if it was 1 season without an extension, we're talking about minor emergency. Now the message is he's a Laker, and MacMahon, he said things at his press conference announcing this, which they didn't have to have a press conference announcing this, and when you have a guy, we've seen this, especially a guy who is overseas based in the off season. They didn't have to have a press conference, but he felt it was important to do the press conference. And so I just want to get your takeaways. You know him about better than anybody else in the media. Your takeaways from the way that all played out.
Luka is operating in a way, in conjunction with the Lakers front office in ways that he never did in Dallas, even though it was fully his intent to be in Dallas for his entire career. I think the shock of the trade has kind of woken Luka up to the importance of being business savvy in the NBA. And he had never been this active in recruiting players like he was with DeAndre Ayton and with Marcus Smart. He had never been as active. Like he certainly had voiced his opinion in the Nico Harrison years in terms of, hey, we need upgrades, or we need to get this type of player, that type of player. He had never been this kind of extension of the front office like he was, or like he has been, like he is right now with Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss. Going back to what was it, Craig's of Hollywood, Wendy, where they had the meeting where you got us a real nice table one time by being a big deal. Going back to the meeting.
I mean, by the way, we had a reservation. We walked in. They just seated us a little early. It wasn't like we got that special of a treatment, but they were very kind.
Very kind.
There.
Good grub. Probably some gluten-free options if Luka's eating there. And listen, there's a lot of things that are different about Luka. Gluten-free is certainly one of them. Now, I will be honest with you. Like, Luka's done more media, I think, over the last week than maybe any full season of his career combined in terms of like outside things.
Just to jump in there for 1 second, I have to admit, I mean, I was aware he was going to be in New York because I knew he was going to this Rucker Park thing, but I have to admit, I was pretty stunned when I got an alert that Luka Doncic was joining the Yankee broadcast the other day.
So, like, the men's health cover.
What is going on with this?
The men's health cover, and I guess there were 3 stories. I read one of them. It's a bit much. It's a bit much. Like, look, it's cool that you've committed to conditioning. I don't think you needed the victory lap too. And this has been like a long victory lap. And essentially, he's sticking to the Mavericks. Okay.
Lakers.
Huh?
You said sticking to the Mavericks.
Oh, sticking it to the Mavericks.
Oh, sticking it to the Mavericks.
The whole revenge bod thing.
Yeah.
This proves the Mavericks. Look, Luka didn't have to get in shape to prove that the Mavericks made a bizarre decision. But Luka's body changing so much this summer does confirm that those conditioning concerns are absolutely real. Like, his sudden commitment to conditioning, like, bro, you're several years into your NBA career. I mean, a victory lap, I would say about time. And there have been, like, his second or his first summer after his rookie year, he had this kind of conditioning commitment. A couple of years ago when he got the body team, he came in leaner, but like, I don't know, man. The whole victory lap thing to me has been a little bit odd. And the article that I read, like, there was this suggestion, and I don't know if this came from Luke or if this is just the writers, but that he was left without guidance. Like, he had to, like, during the summer, he was on his own. Trust me, the Mavericks would give him all the guidance that in the world. None of that guidance was feast every night and throw down a bunch of beers. And, he's European. Goran Dragic is European, actually from the same hometown. He managed to stay in great shape his entire career. So congratulations on your newfound commitment to conditioning. The accountability is on Luka. The accountability is not on anybody. I'm not on the Mavericks, not on anybody else but Luka. And I'm glad that he's now taken those steps. But the victory lap has been weird.
Yeah, and I know you're not insinuating this, but there have been some insinuations from people that, like, there were lots of people around the league who were worried about his conditioning to the point where they wouldn't have offered him the Supermax last summer, like Nico Harrison, or the summer league Nico Harrison was going to do. I just would like to clarify for people. There's one person in the NBA who didn't want to pay Luka Doncic a Supermax contract. It happened to be the guy who was running the team he was on. That's why he got traded. The idea that there was like justification for the Mavericks trading him, I'm sorry, that is not correct. All of your, and I know you weren't saying that, all of your points about the victory lap have been amusing. Part of the reason we are collectively amused by this is Luka, which is totally within his rights, has never exactly been Mr. I'm going to do interviews with anybody ever. And now he's doing interviews across the globe this week. It's been amusing,
especially like the fun interview, like the Yankee thing. And,
yeah, it's like going to the during the broadcast of the Yankee game. It's like what I literally was like, what is happening? Why is he talking to Michael Kay and Paul O'Neill?
The other amusing thing about the Men's Health deal was the correction that, oh no, Luka did not actually have a 42-inch vertical 2018 combine. Actually, he did not attend the combine because he was busy. Good excuse. He was busy helping Real Madrid win the EuroLeague championship.
He was winning Final Four MVP of the EuroLeague. Yes,
but the whole Men's Health thing was pretty bizarre, just to be honest. Like, NBA player commits to conditioning during the summer should not be like breaking news.
Yes. Well, look, at the end of the day, to your initial point, Brian, for all this other stuff we've talked about, if Luka had not agreed to this extension, you said it would have been a minor emergency. No, it would not have been a minor emergency. It would have been a 5-alarm fire, and this entire season would have been about what is Luka Doncic going to do next summer, right?
Yeah.
He would have probably been the biggest player to hit free agency since LeBron in 2010. If you're looking at, or I guess Durant in 2016 is the better one.
Sure.
That guy totally in his prime, no health issues like Kawhi in 2019. Obviously, he's coming off all the health issues before that. Everybody knew he was going to end up going to LA. He would have been that level of player hitting free agency. And this whole season was about what are the Lakers going to do? Are they going to be left holding the bag? What kind of moves are they going to make? And to me, like when we talked about this a couple weeks ago, my personal opinion was Luka shouldn't sign the extension and should put the Lakers' feet to the fire and let them prove that they can build a team around him and have a cohesive plan to have a good enough team for the next couple of years before he extends. But he did them a big favor, locking in this extension, saying he's going to be there, giving them the runway to build a team out. Like, this is a gift that he's given the Lakers. And now the question is going to be, what can Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss and Mark Walter do to repay that? Can they build a good enough team around him? They went and got Marcus Smart, DeAndre, like they did, like we've talked about. They had about as good as a summer as they reasonably could have with the assets they had. They don't have a ton of ability to go all in right now. They'll have 3 first-round picks next summer. They'll have mountains of cap space next summer, almost no matter what they do with their team. We'll see what happens with LeBron next summer. But that, to me, is the real question going forward. Okay, the Lakers would probably be pretty good this year. Maybe they could be really good if Luka and LeBron are healthy and locked in and awesome, which they're certainly capable of. But then what do they do next summer? What do they do the summer after that? And by signing this extension, he not only takes all the heat off of this year, he gives them real runway to try to build the best possible team around them. And it's going to be very interesting to see if they're going to be able to do that, because I will just point out that for the past several years, the Lakers have had LeBron James and Anthony Davis and have failed to build a cohesive contending team around those two guys, which is a very difficult thing to not be able to do. Like, you should be able to have a really good team with those guys. And for the most part, they've been a play-in quality team. And while Luka's
they finished. I understand what you're going to say here. You're going to say that they were only 3 games out of into the playoffs this last year, but they did finish 3rd.
Well, the year before.
I was saying with AD and LeBron the last several years, they were in the play-in most of the time. They were not a repeated championship contender. That's all.
Yeah. Well, I think this gives the Lakers optionality, and they don't know which path it's going to be. I don't think they've got it all figured out because there's certain unknowns. They have positioned themselves to pivot away from LeBron James after this season. They're not going to frame it that way, but by not offering him a new contract, they have positioned themselves to do that.
And we should also point out, I'm sure people saw this, but it was very noticeable who was not at this presser on Saturday. No LeBron James, no Bronny James. Worth pointing out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will just say when it comes to LeBron's attendance in the summer, I've learned to be careful not to overreact to that because he's got a lot of demands on his plate.
I mean, LeBron posted a video or pictures on Instagram the day before working out across town.
Okay. Having said that,
it was a noticeable absence.
Yes. I'm not saying it means he's not going to be there for training camp, but it was a noticeable thing that he wasn't there.
Mark Stein reported that LeBron FaceTimed his congratulations, but it was a noticeable absence by a pretty prominent family on the Lakers roster.
Yeah. So let me just say, having said that, the press conference and plans were set in stone many days out. We know this because Jared Vanderbilt and Maxi Kleba and Rui Hachimura, and there was like
the vast majority of the roster was there,
and they also went to Vegas.
That's
they
right.
cleared their day to get on the plane to go to Vegas to go see the Backstreet Boys. So
maybe LeBron doesn't like the Backstreet Boys. He likes Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny, yes. Backstreet Boys, no.
That's LeBron's era, buddy. LeBron was a kid in the 90s, like literally a kid in the 90s. He makes more sense for him than anybody else, including Luka. But anyway, I have learned to not overreact, but it is notable that he did not attend. Now, I was going to say, this gives the Lakers optionality.
Mm-hmm.
They are in position where they can pivot away from LeBron next summer. They can go out and seek acquiring a high dollar player, be it through trade, be it through free agency, however it might happen. They have that option on the table. They have the option on the table of keeping LeBron, of LeBron having a great season with Luka, wanting to extend his career again, and then doing that. And they have, the option of completely flipping the roster over and not having to worry about Luka not being bought in. Now, obviously, they wouldn't do that without having Luka on board, but this gives them the ability to say, we can focus on getting the maximum out of this season. And if we have to transition away from LeBron, we can still do that. They're not locked in any way. That optionality is valuable. It is not as valuable as a championship supporting cast around Luka that they are going to have to try to make sure that they get into place. And maybe they are close to it right now. We don't believe they're close to it. We think they've got a very competitive team. We don't see them as a championship contender, but maybe Luka will be great this year. Maybe he will win his first MVP award. We've been expecting to see that type of season from Luka. Maybe this is going to have it.
Maybe DeAndre Ayton becomes the player that people thought he would be when he was the number 1 overall pick. Like, there's a lot of maybes.
Yeah, Jackson says Luka's third in odds for MVP.
Yeah, I mean, look, if the Lakers, we've talked, when we did the over-under pod last week about the West, we talked about how if the Spurs are in the top 6, that's going to mean Victor is almost certainly going to be in the top 5 at minimum for MVP. If the Lakers are back in the top 4 in the West again this year, Luka's going to be right in the mix for MVP for sure, because it's going to mean that the revenge tour led to a big season. And the one thing you pointed out, Brian, about the optionality the Lakers have, the biggest thing is they can go in any direction they want now to build a championship caliber roster around Luka. They don't have to microwave it. And if they want to go get a star, if they want to build depth around him, this, even more than pivoting away from LeBron, this gives them the flexibility to build the team the best way possible.
Well, and there's a few certainties here that we know for absolute sure. Number one, Luka Doncic is one of the best players in the world, has been throughout the course of his career, even with the consistent conditioning issues. Number two, Luka is in the best shape that he's been in since at least his second NBA season, if not his entire NBA career. Number three, Luka Doncic is by nature an extremely loyal person. What's he doing later this month? He's playing Eurobasket for the Slovenian national team, which he plays for them every single game that he can if it's a competitive situation, when that's not the norm for NBA players. When, by the way, he could have easily jumped onto a bandwagon with Spain back when he was a teenager, but he chose to play for Slovenia because, again, I think that is an indication of his natural sense of loyalty. And then the fourth thing we know is that Luka views his relationship with the Lakers as a partnership, right? And you can criticize a lot of things that the Lakers have done, but they've taken a great approach in building trust with Luka and building a rapport with Luka and building a relationship with Luka. Now, they had one advantage that they had was the coaching staff. Luka already had a relationship with JJ Redick. They were briefly teammates. They really clicked. we talk about Luka doesn't do much media. He did do a couple of podcast appearances with JJ Redick, which is an indication of just how fond he is of JJ. Greg St. Jean is also on that staff and is working closely with Luka as he did in Dallas. But Rob Pelinka, Jeannie Buss, they've done a great job of, again, connecting with Laura Beth Sager, who's essentially kind of like Luka's surrogate mom, right? And is like, she runs Luka's life, making her part of the equation here. Also, Bill Duffy, his agent, obviously they had a relationship with him before, but
how about Bill Duffy's summer? And now look, it helps to have players to represent, but he represents Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, and Luka Doncic. That's we're closing in on $1 billion there. It's not quite
DeAndre Ayton too, which he made sure he got. He's full. He gave back to the Blazers and then got that back.
Bill's had a very good
summer. The Lakers, but so that whole picture with Luka that I just laid out, with flexibility, with optionality as he's entering his prime, I like the Lakers' chances of building a championship contender around him.
He does too, obviously. That's why he signed it, right? Like that's
and look,
he's freely given them the patience and the pathway to build out the best team they can.
And by the way, from his perspective, you're a Laker. You're going to be the face of the franchise. He kind of already is. That's a delicate topic because
he is now. He is for sure. I mean, look, that's what's caused all the drama this summer. That
you're the face, right?
LeBron is not.
You're the face of one of the iconic sports teams on the planet.
Yes.
And they have incoming ownership that I don't know how it'll work out, but the incoming ownership promises to boost the team's fortunes and further invest in the team. In all honesty, when you look at it, it's kind of an easy decision. Yeah. But that said, because it was such a shock to the system and because there's other stuff going on out in the world, you just weren't 100% sure. But it seems like Luka made the decision quite some time ago, and you can certainly understand why he made it. But I just didn't think we should have assumed it.
If Luka didn't walk out of that dinner at Craig's of Hollywood, knowing he was committed to the Lakers, I think it was pretty soon thereafter, because his whole summer has been plotted out to lead up to this moment. And again, the fact that he took such a lead in terms of the recruiting, which is something that's not his natural sense. That's not something, it's something he basically pushed away from early in his career. And this is the first time he's really embraced it. That was a pretty strong sign of just how committed he was to the Lakers. But, having said all that, this contract, it positions him to be able to make the most money. It certainly makes the most financial sense. If things go haywire, he's going to have leverage. But the Lakers have so many advantages in terms of roster building, especially now that they have the deep pockets that they haven't had before. I would be surprised if Luka Doncic does not win a championship or championships wearing the Lakers uniform.
Well, look, if you look at the arc of history in the NBA, over the first 60 some odd years the Lakers were in existence, from 1949 to 2013, I guess 64 years, they missed the playoffs 4 times. Or 5 times, I should say. In the last 12 years, they missed the playoffs 7 times. So that's the Jeannie Buss ownership. So if Mark Walter comes in and does what he did with the Dodgers, which, again, this is an atypical new owner situation. This is a guy who has proven what he can do with the Dodgers. Similar situation, buys an iconic team, turns it into a juggernaut. If you're Luka and you're betting on the future with Mark Walter, that's understandable. But again, if you look at the Lakers over the last 12 years, despite the comments of some people while we were gone, I do not denigrate the title in the bubble, and it counts just as much as any other.
That's a whole nother deal. Go on.
We'll just leave that comment right where it is. That being said, again, these guys have had LeBron James and Anthony Davis the last few years and have generally been a play-in team.